Hello everyone, this is part 5 of What If Naruto was in Sword Art Online, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
In the sky not far from ancient forest, Kirito and Yui looked at the person that floating next to them intently. Do you really not remember anything, Naruto? Me, Yui, everything that happened in Sao? Asked Kirito, desperately want to believe that what he is seeing is a lie. I am sorry, but I repeat once more, that I don't know you and never heard of Sao. As long as I remember, I always exist in this world, answered Menma. Kirito thought for a minute and asked, then do you have any memory of the past? Can you recognize this? Asked Kirito, then unsheathed Kusanagi from his back and gave it to Menma. Menma held it in his hand and felt a strange feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but somehow when I hold this blade I feel myself complete. Like this sword was part of me, muttered Menma, held the Kusanagi and looked at it in wonder. Kirito looked at Yui and smiled. He may denied the fact that he was Naruto, but he still has connection with Kusanagi. That just proved that the person in front of him is Naruto. Though why did he lost his memories? Is the other question. Ahem, said Leafa, interrupting him, as they completely forgot her presence. They both turned to her and scratched the back of their head, sweet dropping. Oh, sorry, said Kirito. I am Leafa, said Leafa. Sorry, that we have completely forget about you, Leafa-san. Oh, and my name is Kirito. Kirito introduced himself. I am Menma. Though this world called me the mercenary fox of darkness, Yamajitsun. Nice to meet you both, said Menma and bowed his head down. Kirito seeing that sweet drops and whispers to Yui. Somehow seeing a polite Naruto feels not right at all. Yui nodded her head and whispers back. Yeah, I am used to the uncle that did something silly and when auntie tried to punish him, he will ran away screaming. This uncle is just feel not right. Only then Leafa notices a pixie on Kirito's shoulder. Oh. Is that a private pixie? Asked Leafa curiously, looking at Yui. Yeah, something like that, Kirito answered nervously. Though why is the Spriggan doing on a place like this? Asked Leafa, looked suspiciously at Kirito. Though the answer came from Menma. Oh, I guess when I practiced the transportation magic, I accidentally transported Kirito-san here, answered Menma and scratched the back nervously. Kirito, after hearing that, point his finger at Menma. Ah, so it's you. I am sorry once more. I've just learned those spells and eager to try 'em out, said Menma. Whoa, you know the transportation magic. Those spells are very rare and practically no one has obtained it, said Leafa in awe. His luck is deadly as usual, thought Kirito, rolling his eyes. Hey, Kirito, Yamajitsun. What do you plan to do now? Asked Leafa, looking at them. Please, just call me Menma. It's just not right hearing that weird nickname coming from your mouth, Leafa-san, said Menma. Then, Menma-kun, what are you planning now? Your mission is over, right? Asked Leafa. I am trying to find a person that will help me find information about this world, said Kirito. What information do you need? I've traveled around all the places and know lot of things, said Naruto, turning to Kirito. Kirito hearing that widened his eyes. Really? Then can you tell me about the world tree? Leafa hearing that also proposed an idea. How about we stop to the nearest village to rest? I want to go to the world tree too. Isn't the town called Sylvain closer? Asked Kirito. You don't know anything, do you? That's the Sylph's territory, which means that they can attack you and you can't attack them, as you are on their territory, explained Leafa. It's okay, Leafa-san. They won't just attack us suddenly like that, plus Sakuya-sama said I am always welcome there, said Menma. Just call me Leafa. That honorific didn't feel right coming from your mouth, said Leafa, then widened her eyes at what she just said. Why is that? Menma asked, and if he did not wearing the mask he would be seen blinking. And nothing. Let's just go, said Leafa hurriedly and activated her wings. I just met him and he was already had this girl crushed on him. Oh, what will Rika thought, if she saw this? Thought Kirito and activate his wings. Then Kirito noticed something. Both Leafa and Menma didn't use the assist controller. You two didn't need assist controller. That's for newbie, when they first learn to fly, said Menma and begin to hovering. There is a trick on flying on your own, Leafa said and touched Kirito's back. Could you feel where I am touching you? Kirito nodded his head. Now imagine virtual bones and muscles spreading. Kirito did as he was told. His wings began to tremble and waving. Just do it with more force, Kirito-san, said Menma crossing his hands and looks at Kirito's progress. Finally, Kirito manages to flew up but he can't control the trajectory, so he begin to spin in the middle of the sky. Yui and Leaf are laughing hilariously. Menma just looked on in amusement. In the sky, on the way to Sylvain, Kirito is finally able to fly properly. Now he is enjoying the flight by doing salto and fly in different direction. This is great. It is, isn't it? You have really good instinct, said Leafa praising him. Menma hovering in the sky and is in deep thought. Then he clicked his fingers caught the intention of Kirito, Leafa and Yui. As Kirito-san could already fly properly, I proposed a race. What do you think? A race? I won't mind that, said Kirito smirking. Well, I will agree on one condition, said Leafa looking at the masked imp. What is the condition? Asked Menma. If I win the race, I want to see your face behind that mask, said Leafa pointing at his mask. Naruto grabbed his mask and answered. Okay, though you weren't the only one that tried to find out what is behind the mask. The others had tried and all failed. With that they flew in line and prepared to take off. 3.2.1. Here we go, said Leafa and propel forward like a bullet. Kirito seeing that also begin to accelerate. Naruto just hovering at the place and looks at the two leaving figure. Leafa is flying with great speed, she smiled confidently and turned back. But she was surprised as she saw Kirito already keep up with her. Is this the fastest we can go? Asked Kirito mockingly. Where is Menma-kun though? Asked Leafa and looked far behind. Just that a gust of wind from behind rushes past them like a rocket. Leafa just widened her eyes. Kirito sweet dropping nervously. As usual his speed is bordering insane level. What's wrong Leafa, Kirito-san? Shocked. Speechless. Asked Menma brought a victory sign up. How can you fly at such speed? It's just practically not possible. Said Leafa still not recover from her shock. Sakuya-sama has given me the title of the fastest fairy in the world. You can't expect to win against me, Leafa, said Menma and raised his head up. Who? I won't be so sure I am not even fly at my top speed, said Leafa looking away. Me neither. That was 40% of my speed, said Menma and fly to Leafa with his back turn ahead. What the heck is this guy? Speed demon. To be able to keep up from such distance with only 40% of the speed. You never cease to amaze me Naruto, thought Kirito sweet dropping. Sylph's territory. Sylvain. After a while of flight, they finally arrived at Sylvain. Suddenly, Leafa remembered something and asked Kirito. Kirito, do you know how to land? Kirito widened his eyes and said. Oh. No, I don't. Oops. Well you are on your own now, said Leafa and fly to the right. You've got to be kidding me. Yelled Kirito. Just as he was about to crash to a building a black hole appear and transport him to the road beneath. Kirito wipes away the sweat then looks up at Menma. Thank you, Menma. You are a lifesaver. No problem, Kirito-san, said Menma and land to the ground. Suddenly, he was surrounded by many sylphs on the street. Menma just cocked his head in surprise and asked. Am I not welcome here? Yamajitsun. By the new rule of Sakuya-sama, whoever managed to take off your mask will receive a kiss from her. So just take off your mask before we applied force, said one of the sylphs. Menma sweet dropping at that. Gentlemen. Excuse me, but I can't do that. Get him. With that they begin to chase Menma. Leafa just sweet dropped at what she's seeing. I didn't know she was that desperate. That Sakuya really. Leafa. Why did you and the others want to see Menma's face so much? Asked Kirito looking at the chasing crowd. It's just that since the day Menma-kun appeared no one ever seeing his face before. Even when eating he just casts a dark dome on his head to hide his face. That's why Sakuya and everybody else are curious about his face. They think that it just one of the mystery. Like how to reach the top of the world tree, that they must discovered no matter what, explained Leafa watching the crowd continue to chase Menma. When one sylph was about to catch him, Menma casts his transportation magic and transports to the building near them. The sylph missed his target began howl in anger. Then the crowd follows him to the other direction to find their prey. Menma decided to jump down from the building and wiped his sweat away. Woo, that was close. I didn't know that my face will interested the public so much. But to think that Sakuya-sama did something like this, muttered Menma. It's tough to be popular, huh, Mr. Fox of Darkness? Teased Kirito. Then he remembered the magic Naruto used. Based on the magic you used, you were pretty proficient in dark magic, right? So what did I specialized in? Asked Kirito. Well, you are Spriggan. Your specialty is treasure hunting and illusion magic. Though both of them are useless in battle, said Leafa. Hearing that makes me feel so much better, said Kirito sarcastically. Suddenly, that heard a voice from behind them. Leafa-chan. You are okay, yelled Recon running to them. Ah, it's you, Recon, said Leafa. Recon looked up from his panting at Kirito and Naruto and stand if guard. A Spriggan and an imp. It's okay, they are with me, said Leafa waving her hand to dismiss him. Then Recon looked closely at Menma and his eyes widen. AR. T the Yamajitsu. He was interrupt, as Naruto covers his hand and makes a, be silent, sign with his finger. I'd rather not want to run from the mob again, Recon-san. This is Recon, my friend, Leafa introduced her friend. I am Kirito, said Kirito and brought his hand for Recon to shake. Recon shook his hand. Nice to meet you. Then he jerked out and stand on guard. No. He may be a spy. It's fine. He is too dim to be a spy, said Leafa. That's mean, said Kirito. Then Recon told her that Sigurd and the others had prepared a seat for her in the meeting. Leafa think for a while then decline. I'll pass today. Menma-kun saved me and I want to repay him with a drink in the cafe. With that they went ahead. Menma decided to use illusion magic and became one with Kirito's shadow to avoid attention. In the cafe, people didn't pay attention to him in cafe. So Menma dismissed his magic and appeared near Kirito. You actually know many kind of magic. I am impressed, said Kirito. That's nothing much. Leafa, was that your boyfriend? Asked Menma. Leafa blushed a little then answered. And no, it's nothing like that. It's just that I know him in real life so we party up. I am curious, so I decide to ask. No need to work up like that, Leafa, said Menma. Who said I am work up against something like that? Just stop asking stupid questions. It's irritate me, said Leafa and turned away to hide her blush that's still there. Kirito looked at the scene and turned to Yui to whispered. We definitely going to tell Rika this. After he regained the memory. Yui just nodded in agreement. Then Kirito turned to Menma seriously and said. Now, please tell me everything you know about the World Tree. First, I want to ask. What do you want to accomplish by going there? I am looking for someone. Someone dear for me, answered Kirito. Not many people know this, but the story about meeting the King Oberon then evolves into the Alps is all bullshit, said Menma crossing his hand. Why do you say that? Did you actually met up with the king? Asked Leafa. Yeah, I managed to pass the dome with guardians by using a forbidden summon. But the king apparently knew something like that would happen and used a transfer magic to kick me out. Which means he hides something and didn't want the others to know, said Menma. Kirito then narrowed his eyes and thought the possibility of Asuna being there. Can you take me there, Menma? I need to go there as soon as possible, said Kirito stood up and looking at Menma. Okay, but it's late already. I will take you there tomorrow. But as a payment I want that sword, said Menma pointing at the Kusanagi behind Kirito's back. Kirito nods his head and gives Menma the sword. Wait, I want to go there too. The more the mere, there will be strong monsters there and no one from you guys knew the healing magic. I'll go with you guys to support, said Leafa. Are you sure? It will be dangerous, Leafa, said Menma looking at her. I've already made up my mind, said Leafa stubbornly. Fine. By the way, Leafa, said Menma and come near Leafa. Yes. From all the female sylphs that I had seen, you and Sakuya-sama are the most beautiful so far, said Menma and looked closely at Leafa. Leafa's face light up like a tomato and she stumpers. What the heck are you talking, you masked pervert? Saying something like that and not even stuttered. I am logging out. See you guys tomorrow. With that Leafa logged out. Menma turned to Kirito and asked. Did I say something wrong? I just complimented her. Was that wrong? Kirito just facepalm and said. You know, you really are. Then I'll meet you here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Kirito-san, said Menma about to walk out of the cafe. Wait, can't you log out? Asked Kirito. No, I don't have that button. I will just went to the tree to sleep now, said Menma and walked out of the cafe. He can't log out. The same as Sao. No, not really, you can still be revived here, thought Kirito and went upstairs to sleep. Shuguha's room. Shuguha had just logged out from the game. She opened her eyes, then remembered Menma's words and her face began to heat up. She began to scream out and tumble from right to left. Why the heck did he say something like that? When she has calmed down, she hugged the pillow and recalled his name. Menma-kun, huh, what a weird person. At first I thought he is some kind of arrogant team, because of his title. Now, I see he is nothing like that. Though why did he wear a mask? I'd also like to see what is under that mask someday. With that Shuguha falls into sleep. Alfheim. On some tree. Menma looked at the moon and then brought the Kusanagi in front of him and looked at it intently. Did I really lost my memory? And this sword is from my past. Well, if that's true, how am I going to regain my past? Then he lied down and fall asleep. Sylvain. Sylph's territory. Cafe. Lifa opened the door to the cafe, looked at one table and saw that Kirito has just logged in, but there was no sign of Menma. Lifa went to Kirito and greeted him. Oh, you are here already, said Lifa. You are early, said Kirito. Looked at Lifa. No, I just got there. Did you see Menma-kun? Asked Lifa looking around. No, I only just logged in and didn't see anyone came in here, answered Kirito. Then the door opened, revealing Menma's figure. Yo, good morning Kirito-san, Lifa, said Menma saluting them. Lifa recalled the incident of yesterday and her face heat up again. Then she shook her head and slapped her cheeks to wash away the blush. Gee, good morning, Menma-kun, muttered Lifa not looking at him. Menma just looked at her strangely and shrugged his shoulders. By the way, Menma, do you know any good shops that has a decent equipments? Those on me are just not good. And I also need a weapon, as I have given you the Kusanagi, said Kirito looking at Menma. Menma thought for a second and said, there is actually a good shop not far from here. Let's go and see for yourself. What do you need, said Menma and begin to walk out the door. Kirito also stands up from the table and follows Menma. Lifa looked at the closed door and thought, why the heck the presence of that guy caused me to work up this much? Then she opened the door and caught up to them. Time skip. On the street. After Kirito bought some decent equipments, they proceed to walk to the tower. Kirito looked pretty much like his Sao with the exception of the huge sword on his back. Kirito decided to ask, why do we head to the tower? When we fly at long distance, need a higher place to start at. It gives you extra altitude. The tower is the highest place in Sylvain. That's why we are heading there, explained Menma turning to Kirito. Oh, I got it, muttered Kirito nosing his head. Lifa seeing he didn't move decided to shove him forward. Let's go already. I want to make it past the forest by night. In the tower, there are lots of sylphs talking and exchanging conversations with themselves. Kirito just observed them. Then Lifa dragged him to the where Menma is standing. But a voice behind her stopped her in place. Lifa. She turned and saw a male sylph with long green hair accompanied by two guards. Hello, Sigurd, Lifa greeted him. Long time no see, Sigurd-sama, said Menma. Sigurd turned to Menma and looked displeased, then turned to Lifa. You are leaving the party, Lifa? Asked Sigurd. Yeah, I guess, answered Lifa. Don't you know how that will inconvenience the other members? Asked Sigurd not pleased with her answer. It's alright Sigurd-sama. Lifa is in the party with me now. So nothing will happen, when I am near her, said Menma. Lifa hearing that just blushed and turned her head away. Because she partied with you, I feel even more displeased. Don't think that just because Sakuya infatuated with you that you can do as you pleased. Why does she even trust you? I don't know. But I am not trust you at all. It's obvious you are using her to reach a certain goal, said Sigurd angrily looking at Menma. Enough, Sigurd. It's my decision to leave the party. And you can't stop me anyway, as I've already made a decision, said Lifa looking at Sigurd seriously. Lifa, do you really plan to leave the territory to become renegade like this trash, said Sigurd looking at Menma. But just, as he finished that sentence he felt something sharp point against his back. Sigurd-sama, you've just stepped out a boundary. I suggest you think before open your mouth or else, said Menma with a dark aura behind him. The guards of Sigurd's was about to act. But Menma just turned his head at them and they frozen in place, eyes widen in terror. Leafa looked at Menma in awe the whole time. Sigurd just looked behind, sweet dropping nervously. When Naruto sheathed back his sword, Sigurd turned to Leafa and warned. I will allow this time. But if you betray me, you will regret it. He turned back to leave with his 2 guards. Menma turned to the other 2 and said, let's go. With that they went to the lift to move them up to the top of the tower. On top the tower, Kirito, Leafa and Menma looked at the view before them and amazed at the sight. Whoa, it's so amazing here, said Kirito and smiled amazed at the sight. Isn't it? No matter how many times I looked from here the view never ceased to amaze me, said Leafa also enjoying the view. It's just like you can raise your hand touch the sky. Though that's only an illusion, said Menma reach his hand to the sky. Then he turned to Leafa and asked. But are you really alright leaving with us like that? I mean leaving your territory is a big deal. It's alright. I've planned to leave anyway. Never want to be bound by the rules, answered Leafa. That dude said renegade. What is renegade? Asked Kirito curiously. Well, I am a renegade for example. Renegades are the players that left their territory to wander around. And other players look down on them. Though, I don't care what the others think about me. I do what I want. That's my lifestyle, explained Menma. Then he heard the sound of the lift moved up and turned back. Leafa-chan, you are horrible. Why are you leaving and didn't even say goodbye to me? Recon running to them and whined. Oh, I forgot. Sorry about that, said Leafa. I heard you quit the party. What will you do from now on? Asked Recon looking at Leafa. Well, after we brought Kirito there, I will travel the world. There was still many places that I haven't seen, said Leafa and thought for a little. That will be dangerous. At least take me with you. I will always protect you if you are in danger, replied Recon. I wouldn't need you anyway, said Leafa and Recon slumped his shoulder depressed. Then his face turned serious. Sigurd is planning something. I don't know exactly what. So I will stay in his party for a little longer, said Recon. Then he turned to Kirito and Menma. Menma-san, Kirito-san, please take care of her. She has a habit of flying into trouble, so be careful. Don't worry, I am a trouble magnet myself. Ha ha ha, said Menma and laughs through his mask. The others just looked at him sweet dropping. And I just make this clear. She is warned Recon, but he was interrupted as Leafa stamped at his feet. Recon jumps on his leg in pain. Leafa told him to contact her if anything happens. Then she activated the wings and took off. Then we will depart right now. Bye, Recon-san, said Menma and followed her. Kirito doing the same. Is that Recon your friend in real life? Asked Menma flying near Leafa. Why yeah, so what? Said Leafa. Nothing, it's just he seems genuinely cares about you. I am pretty jealous. I was alone, as I can remember. Also even my past was a mystery to me. I wonder if I have a person that cared about me like that, said Menma and looked at the cloudy sky. Yeah, there is. She has always visited you in the hospital. But you won't remember her anyway, thought Kirito solemnly. What about you, Leafa? Do you feel the same about him? Asked Menma. As if I'd know, said Leafa and fly ahead. Then she looked back at the Sylvain and stared for a while. She looked back at Kirito and Menma then smiled. Let's go. World Tree. Asuna sitting in the bed silently and was molested by Shugu. After a while, he became bored lying to the bed and said. My, you're such a cold woman. It's just a fake body. It won't hurt anything. Don't you want to enjoy yourself a little? You wouldn't understand. It doesn't matter whether this body is real or virtual. Not to me anyway, said Asuna and turned away from him. Saying that it'll damage your mind. I think it'd be good idea to enjoy yourself while you can, said Shugu and brought his hands behind his head and closes his eyes. I won't be here forever. He'll come to save me, said Asuna narrowing her eyes. Who will? Your boyfriend, maybe. Or that hero of Sao? Asked Shugu mockingly. Asuna widened her eyes at that. And Naruto is alive. Oh, you don't know. He somehow managed to escape death but I've trapped him here, so that he couldn't logged out, said Shugu. What did you do that for? He didn't involve in anything. Snapped Asuna. Mayu seems to care about him. Should I be jealous? Anyway, there are people outside that have a grudge against him, is they paid me a certain amount to trap him here forever. Also he apparently has lost his memory. Though, He is a very capable player. Managed to pass that dome is not such easy thing, said Shugu and stand up a little to grin at Asuna. Asuna just glares murderously at him. Also about that boyfriend if yours. Kirito right. You should see his face when I told him that I am gonna marry you next week. After what happened at Sao, I bet he won't even be able to touch the Navagir, said Shugu mockingly and laughed like a maniac. Asuna hearing that bit her lower lip and looked down sadly. Shugu decided to leave the room. You shouldn't underestimate Kirito-kun and Naruto like that. I've seen with my eyes at which length Naruto will go to protect his friends. Even if his memory is lost, his feelings will remain the same. He would destroy you if he know what you've done to me and the other 300 players, said Asuna confidently. You seems to have an unshakable trust in those two. We will see about that. With that said, he began to type the password of the door to open. Asuna uses this chance to look through the mirror, the reflection, to remember the code. Neutral area. Ancient forest. Kirito, Leafa and Menma are fighting some monsters in the sky. Kirito slashed them with his huge sword. Leafa chanting a flame magic to shoot him down. Menma used Kusanagi to cut him down. Then they noticed their wings are about to reach their limits and land on the ground. Then Leafa explained to Kirito that they will have to walk through a cave, as the mountain ahead of them is above altitude limit. Leafa proposed them to logged out in order and rest. But Menma retort. I can't logged out, sir. I will watch your avatars. Don't worry. Why can't you log out? Asked Leafa surprised. It's complicated, muttered Menma. Leafa just looked at him strangely, then shrugged her shoulder and logged out. Kirito was about to log out but Menma decided to ask. Kirito-san. You said you know the past me. Can you tell me about it? Even though I won't be recall anything, at least I will know what kind of person am I in the past. Well, you are a very troublesome person, always trying to act like a hero, though friendship is very important to you. You are not remember now. But you are a hero to all of the people in Sao. Also there is a person that is waiting for you outside. She always visiting you, hopes that you will one day wake up, so that she can reunite with you, said Kirito looking at Menma. Is that so? Do you think my memory will be back? I am used to living in this world. But if my absence in the outside world make my precious people upset, then I'd want to return to the real world as soon as possible, said Menma touching his mask. We will find a way to regain you memory. I promise that, said Kirito looking at Menma convincingly. I hope for that. If you need to rest, just logged out. I will be here anyway. Okay. I will be out for 20 minutes. With that said, Kirito logged out. Menma went to the tree and lied down. 20 minutes later, Leafa logged in, opened her eyes and looked at Menma, who decided to take a nap. Seeing this chance, she went silently to him and was about to take his mask off. It's rude to do something to a person when he is asleep, Leafa, said Menma. Leafa hearing that jumped up and screamed in surprise. Kirito logged back in and they decide to continue their journey. Suddenly, Menma stopped and looked around. You detected something, Menma-kun? Asked Leafa looking at Menma. I've a feeling we've been spied. Or maybe that was just a mistake. There can be a tracer on us, said Leafa. And what is that? Asked Kirito. It's a tracing magic that can take the form of an animal, explained Leafa. Well, we will deal with it, if that is necessary. Let's go, said Menma and take off. Kirito and Leafa followed him. Unknown to them, there was a squad of salamanders on the ground preparing to chase after them. Hospital. Naruto's hospital's room. Uzumaki Naruto is still lying unconscious in the Navagir in his bed. Shinozaki Rika has visited him like every other days. She looked at him with sad eyes. Why didn't you wake up, Naruto-kun? I miss you so much. Everybody miss you so much. I've been hoping for you to wake up every night. First, when I heard that you are still somehow alive, I was so glad. Because that means that we could be real couple when you are awake. But why didn't you wake up, Naruto-kun? Please, wake up soon. Then she heard a knock at the door and turned her head said. Come in. Two-person came in. Both were female. First, is a short girl with short brown hair and two pigtails. Second, is taller than the first girl. She has short blue hair but has the bangs frame her face. Excuse me, is this Uzumaki Naruto's room? Asked the short girl. Yes, it is. Why, are you two here visiting him too? Asked Rika curiously. Yes, I am a survivor of Sao. And Naruto-san helped me once. Oh. And my name is Ayano Keiko, said Keiko and bowed down. Me too. I was saved by Naruto-kun, when we was trapped in non-crystal area. I am Miyazaki Miyuki. Nice to meet you, Miyuki introduced herself. Nice to meet you too. I am Shinozaki Rika, replied Rika. Keiko looked at how Rika held Naruto's hand and asked. You are pretty close to Naruto-san, aren't you? Well, we have married in Sao. But I've never met him in real life. What about you two? Said Rika and turned to them. When my pet was killed. Naruto-san is the one that told me how to revive it by going to he hills of memory. I am very grateful for him. Then he cleared the game by defeating the final boss himself, which caused every survivor in Sao to respect him, said Keiko remembered the time Naruto helped her to revive Pina. I first met Naruto-kun, when he was finding information about PK guilds. Back then he was a little cold. He declined the invitation to our guild, to do his business. But when we were trapped in the non-crystal area, he was the one that saved us. Even though we had Kirito at our side, that wasn't enough. There was a rock soldier that managed to sneak up on me and about to finish me off. But Naruto saved me by blasting it to the wall, then destroyed all the monsters, and we managed to escape that trap. If Naruto-kun wasn't there, I knew we wouldn't survive back then. Naruto-kun is my lifesaver. What about you, Rika-san? Can you tell us the story, how you guys has married? Miyuki told her story and turned to Rika to ask. Rika blinked and pointed herself. How did we married? Well, it was very weird, you could say, said Rika and scratched her cheek. Why is that? Asked Keiko curiously. Well, at first I thought to myself what an idiot he was. He went to my shop demand the best sword that I could made and broke it. Of course, he was wielding the legendary Kusanagi. How the heck did it compare to something like that? Then I snapped at him and told him that I could made the sword that will be equal to Kusanagi. He didn't believe me and began to mock me. Then I thought of something and proposed a bet. Whoever lose the bet will become the winner's slave. Of course, Naruto accepted as his pride won't allow him to back away. But all began when we were trapped at the bottom of the dragon nest. Rika told her story, then looked at Naruto warmly. What happened there? Asked Miyuki, interested in the story. When the night fell, me and him lying in a futon and looked at the start sky above us. Then I decided to ask, why did he save me back there? He just said, that did he really need a reason to save the life of a person? I felt really surprised at what he said, as people always thought about themselves first. When the wind began to blow harsher, he went behind me and embraced my waist. I was yelling at him for being a pervert. He just said that the weather had become colder, so he was just sharing body heat. His embrace caused my body to heat up, my heart to beat faster, also I feel so safe in his embrace. That minute I realized that I've fallen in love with Naruto. I proposed to change the condition of the bet. That if I win then he will marry me. As you see, I won the bet. Then we married each other. And make a promise that we will become a real couple in reality. But then, said Rika, then looked at Naruto sadly. Keiko and Miyuki looked at her in sympathy. Rika stroked Naruto's cheek and looking at him solemnly and said. Please, return to me, Naruto-kun. Arfheim. Neutral territory. Lugru corridor. Kirito, Menma and Leafa have walked into a dark corridor. Menma said that this will be a good chance for Kirito to practice magics. Kirito sighed and nodded his head that began the incantation. After a second, the cave had lit up, so that you could see properly. Oh, now I see even a useless Spriggan was capable of something, said Leafa and smirks cheekily. Ouch. That's really hurt, said Kirito and grabbed his heart dramatically. Actually, you could use any spell you want, Kirito-san. Though you will only excel in illusion magics, like I excel in dark magic and Leafa in wind magic, explained Menma. Illusion magic is basically useless in battle, replied Leafa and closing her eyes. That don't make me feel better at all, said Kirito with a tick on his forehead. Not really. There is one illusion magic that is very dangerous in battle. The real illusion magic. The magic where if the user's will is strong enough to transform the illusion to reality. I personally never seen it myself, though I've heard about it, said Menma and raised his finger up like he is lecturing. Oh, I didn't know such illusion magic existed. You know pretty much about magic, Menma-kun, said Leafa, impressed with his knowledge. Well, I've traveled around the world after all, said Menma and scratched the back head, embarrassed at the praise. With that they proceed to continue their journey. Time skip. As they are walking, Kirito decided to learn some magic. But the magic all were in different languages, so he is struggling even to spell it right. Why the heck the incantation need to be on different languages? I probably should just stick with fighting with my sword, complained Kirito. If you are complaining about that, then I wonder what you'll do when you learn the high-level magic. They consist of 20 words and more, said Leafa, rolling her eyes at Kirito. That doesn't make me feel better at all, said Kirito, then sigh. No complaints, said Leafa strictly. You look pretty cute when you make a strict face, Leafa, said Menma, looking at Leafa in the eyes. Stop talking nonsense, stuttered Leafa with a red face. Suddenly, she received a message from Recon. Sorry, I got a message. Ha, it's from Recon, said Leafa and opened her mailbox. The message said, I was right, be careful. What the heck is though? Asked Leafa to herself. Papa, I detected something behind us, said Yui in Kirito's pocket. Monsters? Asked Kirito and looked back with the corner of his eyes. I don't think so. There is a chance that they are the one that casted the tracer to spy on us, said Menma. Uncle is right, Papa. There are about 20 players behind us, said Yui. 20 players? Asked Leafa, surprised. Let's hide first. Then we will see who are their targets, said Menma. With Leafa shoved Kirito to the empty space between two stones and cast a rock walk up. Menma cast a magic and became one with the shadow of a stone. They waited for a while, but no one has appeared. Then Menma noticed a flying bat not far from them. Shit. It's a tracer again. Series Obscuri. Cursed Menma and chant a spell to create some dark arrows to destroy the bat. Then he turned to Kirito and Leafa. We need to escape now. They've detected us. Kirito and Leafa, hearing that, began to run to the exit. Based on the color of that bat, I could probably say that salamanders are pursuing us, said Leafa. Continue to run. But what are the group of salamanders doing here? And how they even know that we will be here to send a tracer? Asked Kirito. They continued to run to the bridge and was about to get to Lugru's gates. Suddenly, two beams of magic from behind were shot and create a huge wall blocking their path. Oh crap, muttered Kirito. Then he takes his sword from his back and tried to cut the wall. But it was no use, the wall was still standing. That won't work. This wall is made by a pretty proficient mage, said Menma, looking down at Kirito. You should have that sooner, said Kirito with a tick on his forehead. We could use your transportation magic to escape, Menma-kun, said Leafa, turning to Menma. Menma shook his head and said, it's no use. This area won't allow to use transportation magic. How about we jump to the lake to hide? Proposed Kirito. That's a bad idea. As the monsters below are all high level. Looks like we don't have a choice but fight, said Menma and turned to the direction of a dust zone ahead of them. Yeah, though it's not a bad idea to me. As I haven't fought anyone for 2 months, said Kirito, step in line with Menma with a smirk. Leafa was about to follow them, but Menma interrupted her. I am not doubt your ability in fighting, Leafa. But it would be better if you back us up by using healing magic, said Menma, turned his head a little to look at Leafa. Leafa just about to say something but rethink herself and jumped back. And just that, the squad of salamanders consist of 20 players have arrived. Kirito immediately charged at them. The first line consists of 5 salamanders with shield, move forward and block Kirito's strike. The second line consists of 5 mages, that are chanting the incantation to fire the flame blast at Kirito. Menma decided to act that moment and chant incantation and create a black sphere in his hand with wind ring surrounding the sphere. Dai Raisin Ringu. With that he threw the sphere to the mage, blast them behind, saving Kirito. The second line of mages began to chant incantation and arrows of thunder begin to fly at Menma and blast him to the back. Leafa, seeing that, began to chant the healing incarnation to heal Menma. Are you alright, Menma-kun? Yeah. That was unexpected, but I won't get hit again. With that said, he stood up and about to charge forward. He looked at Kirito, seeing him swing madly at the shield unit. Something in Menma's clicked and a vision appeared in his mind. A blonde person like him slashed an enemy in his vision and called the name of the techniques. Then suddenly all the moves of Hiten Mitsurugi-Ryu has returned to Menma's mind. Hiten Mitsurugi-Ryu. That was my sword style before I lost my memories, muttered Menma and unsheathed his sword and charges forward. Kirito turned back, seeing Menma unsheathed Kusanagi, and looked strangely. Menma pointed the tip of Kusanagi to the ground and slashed up to create a debris blast that head to the shield unit. Hiten Mitsurugi Ru, Doryusen. The shield unit couldn't hold back the attack and was sent flying behind. The mage units looked on in surprise. Kirito looked surprised for a minute and smiled. Lifa looked at what happened in shock. What kind of sword technique is that? That could do something like this. Menma charged forward at the flame mage unit and performed Yusozen to cut him down quickly. Kirito decided to use his new spell and began to chant. The smoke began to raise up, and when it cleared, Kirito was no longer there, but the gleam eyes was standing there. Then it began to roar loudly, cause the salamanders to shake in fear. So you've managed to perform it after all, Kirito-san, said Menma looking at Gleam Eyes. We will finish them right now. With that said, Menma and Gleam Eyes began to charge at the remained salamanders. Menma used Yumizen to stun them while Gleam Eyes used its claws and tail to swipe the enemy. He ate some of them and they turned to a torch. Menma jumped forward and began to spin like a drill towards the leader. Hiten Mitsurugi Ru Ryukansen, Chumuji. The leader was pierced through his stomach and transformed to a torch as well. Then only one remained. Just as Gleam Eyes about to crush him in his hand, Menma decided to stop him. Lifa looked at the two in awe the whole time. That's enough, Kirito-san. We will spare this one to get information out of him, said Menma, resheathed his Kusanagi. Gleam Eyes dropped the salamander to the ground and transformed back to Kirito. Ah, that was nice fight. By the way, Menma, that sword style. Yeah, I've remembered that I used this style before losing my memories. Well, that's good. Then they turned to the salamander to interrogate him. The salamander refused to tell anything. Then Kirito decided to make a deal with him. He will give him all the items that falls from the monsters that they managed to hunt down and some yield. The salamander immediately accept the deal, seeing that it will benefit him. Then the salamander began to tell them about the leader of the squad received the order from above to delay their party for some reason. Lifa asked if he knows something about that. The salamander said that there is no way the higher-ups will share such information to a low class like him. Though he thinks they are planning something big. Then they released a salamander as he won't know anything useful and he wasn't a threat to them. Lifa recalled the fight and turned to Kirito and Menma. How did you transform to that monster, Kirito? It was supposed to be illusion magic. It can't supposed to become real. And Menma-kun, what kind of technique was that? That could even blast magic shield away? Asked Lifa looking at those two. The magic Kirito just used was the real illusion magic, the one I told you guys before. As for my sword attack, it's the only middle-range attack of Hiten Mitsurugi Ru. Doryusen, Menma answered her questions with crossing hands. Hiten Mitsurugi. Ru. Muttered Lifa in thought. Never heard of it. Well, it's not a surprise. It's the lost art of sword after all. So how I suddenly managed to recall this style, I don't know. But one thing for sure is I was using this style before, said Menma. Then they proceed to go to Lugru. Lugru. The party arrived in Lugru and went around the market to find something interesting. Then Menma remembered something. Lifa, check if your friend is online. If he isn't, then logged out for a while to ask the situation through the phone. I've an idea what is going on. But I need confirmation, said Menma turning to Lifa. Lifa checks her friend list and seeing Recon is out. He is out, Menma-kun. Then log out for a minute and ask him the situation on the phone. Why do I? Okay, I will log out for a minute. Yui-chan, look after my avatar for me. I don't trust these two, especially the masked one, said Lifa and turning to Yui. Yui just saluting her. Menma just cocked his head aside. Kirito just sigh. With that, Lifa sat on the bench and logged out. After some minutes, Lifa opened her eyes, stood up and said hurriedly. We have to hurry. Tell me the situation, Lifa, said Menma. Look at Lifa still sitting on the bench. Sigurd is a traitor. He was working with the salamanders for a while now. He planned to ambush Sakuya when she meet the leader of Cat Sith on the treaty. Sigurd is going to attack the signing ceremony with a squad of salamanders, said Lifa in panic. It's just as I thought. Sigurd has planned the coup d'etat for a while now. He always want to get rid of Sakuya-sama. The only reason he couldn't complete was he planned because of me. Sakuya-sama has give me the permission to protect myself in the territory of sylphs. Sigurd knew about my strength, so as long as I am near Sakuya-sama, he couldn't accomplish anything. That's why he sent the salamanders to chase you in the ancient forest. Sakuya-sama couldn't leave you like that, even knowing that you a skilled fighter. So she sent me to help you. And that was the time that Sakuya-sama has agreed to the treaty with Cat Sith. The ambush before was to delay me in coming to help Sakuya-sama in time. But they underestimate us by sending only 20 players, said Menma and stood up. I am sorry Kirito-san. But the trip to the World Tree need to be delayed. I won't leave Sakuya-sama like that, said Menma and about to take off. But Kirito interrupted him. You still remain the same as usual. Still thought about friends above anything else, said Kirito closing his eyes and smirks. You should stay here Lifa. Going with me will be dangerous, said Menma turning to Lifa. No, I will go as well. I can't just leave you two to go there and fight an army of salamanders. No matter how strong you two are you won't win. Besides Sakuya is my superior and my friend. I worry at her also, retort Lifa. Menma looked at her for a minute and rubbed her head. You know I like that about you. Your stubbornness. Lifa tuned her head away and blushed a little. After that they returned back to the ancient forest. On the sky, Menma and Lifa was flying near each other while Kirito is behind him a little. Lifa glanced at Menma every second as they are flying. Menma seeing that decide to ask. Do you want to ask me something Lifa? Lifa looked hesitantly for a while decided to ask. What is your relationship with Sakuya? You seems to care about her very much. Of course, I care about her. She is my first friend after all, answered Menma. Just friend. Do you like her? Asked Lifa hesitantly. Well, Sakuya-sama is very attractive also she always hold me in high regard. Yes, I do like her, answered Menma. Lifa looked down a little sadly. But she isn't the only one. I like you as well Lifa. Your stubbornness, your teasing character. They attract me as well. Lifa hearing that find herself happy and smiled widely. In the sky. On the way to where the treaty will take place. Kirito, Lifa and Menma was flying at great speed where the treaty was supposed to take place. Menma turned to Lifa and asked. Lifa, how much time do we have? About 20 minutes or so, answered Lifa looking at the clock in her menu. I will speed up now. Try to catch up okay? Said Menma and accelerated. His speed was so great that it caused a powerful gust of wind to blow back to where Kirito and Lifa were. Menma-kun, wait up, shouted Lifa and followed him. That Naruto, as impatient as ever, muttered Kirito and shook his head. But that's uncle for you papa. If he didn't do something like this, he won't be uncle anymore. Said Yui smiling and turned to Kirito. Yeah, you are right. Said Kirito and accelerate to catch up with the other two. Butterfly Valley. Neutral territory. It took a lot out of them, but Lifa and Kirito managed to catch up to Menma. I just hope that we managed to arrive in time before salamanders began the attack, said Lifa. Suddenly, Yui detected the signal of players ahead. Papa, uncle there are many players ahead of us. How much? Asked Menma. It's about 100 players uncle. Also I sense the 14 signals at the mountain not far from here, said Yui. When they flew past the cloud, they managed to see the salamander's force. Menma looked at the one in the lead and said. Interesting. Very interesting. What is interesting Menma-kun? Asked Lifa cocked her head and looked at Menma curiously. The leader of this force is none other than General Eugene. I've want to battle him for a while now. This will be a good chance to measure my strength against the strongest warrior of salamanders, said Menma and you could feel the lust for battle by looking at his trembling knuckle. Lifa hearing that widened her eyes and asked. The same famed general, that alone battle a squad of sylphs. Are out of your mind to fight someone like that. And he is not alone there. He is with 99 more salamanders. And you still want to challenge him. Lifa was about to continue to berate Menma, but was interrupted by Kirito. Just forget it. He is a battle maniac. If he meets someone strong that worth a challenge, then even the Kami herself can't stop him. Menma just looked at the figure of Eugene the whole time. On the meeting place, the salamanders have surrounded the sylphs and cat siths. They are hovering in the sky and waiting for the order to attack. Sakuya looked up at the sky, narrowed her eyes for a minute, then closing her eyes and smirks. The leader of cat sith seeing her smirk decide to ask. Why are you smirking? We have been surrounded, don't you see? I don't need to worry about anything. He will come here soon after all, said Sakuya looked up at the salamanders and smirks. The leader of cat sith just cocked her head aside not understand. Who will come? My darling, just wait and see, said Sakuya and turned to Ru, Lord of Katsith, and smiling brightly. The other sylphs just looked at each other and wonder who could it be. The salamanders looked down seeing a smirking face of Sakuya and wondered what is the reason. Just as the captain salamander about to give the order to attack, Sakuya looked up at the empty space and said, "You are a little late, my darling." And with that the black hole appeared between the treaty's party and salamanders. From the hole Menma has appeared mysteriously. He looked down to the ground and said, "Forgive my lateness, Sakuya-sama. I hope you were not harmed." Sakuya just looked his mask face smiling brightly and said, "No, I am not harmed, but if you were late even a little bit then I will be." Sakuya whined and pouted like a little girl. "Well, I am here. So everything will be okay now," said Menma and raised a thumbs up. "Yeah, I won't doubt. Just kick those salamanders' ass for me, okay?" said Sakuya smirking at Menma with narrowed eyes. "Yeah, that is a good idea." With that he flew up to face the salamanders' force. Ru came near Sakuya and said, "Whoa, I didn't know you in relationship with the Yamajitsun. So this is who you are talking about. Hee. Now my darling is here. We are just gonna enjoy the show," said Sakuya and go to the seat. In the sky, Lifa watched how Sakuya and Menma interact and felt jealous. They looked so comfortable with each other. And she even called him darling. Kirito looked how Menma and Sakuya interact and muttered, "I didn't see him in 2 months and now he transformed to a chick magnet. How will Rika react to this, I wonder?" The excuse of losing memory certainly will not help him from Rika's wrath. Yeah, when Uncle will recall everything. He will recall Auntie as well. And he will also remember how fearsome Auntie was when in wrath. That will be so funny, said Yui and covers her mouth and laugh silently. With the salamanders, when they noticed who had arrived they began to panic and began to mutter to themselves. Hey, is that the infamous Yamajitsun? He was supposed to be delayed for some time. Those useless idiots. But he is alone now. And we are outnumbering him greatly. Don't you know that he has a spell to summon 9 powerful entities? Eugene looking at Menma silently the whole time as he approaching them. When Menma is in front of him, Eugene decided to ask, "Why is the Fox of Darkness here? It's not your business. Get out of here before I decide to kill you." Menma just looked impassively, though you couldn't see because of his mask. "Isn't it obvious? I am here to fight. All of you." The salamanders hearing that think he has gone insane. Eugene looked at Menma and said, "Are you stupid or insane? You couldn't even hope to defeat me, let alone the 99 salamanders here." Menma began to laugh loudly. Everyone just looked at him strangely. Ha, maybe I am insane. But I did not care about that. I want a duel with you, Eugene-san, one-on-one, said Menma and pointing at Eugene. "Do you really think that you are a threat to me? Alright, I accept. You will regret that decision soon enough," said Eugene and unsheathed his demonic bladegram. On the ground, Kirito, Lifa and Sakuya just looked and listened to the dialogue between Menma and Eugene. He just challenged all the salamanders forced to attack at once. Is he stupid? Insane? Suicidal idiot? Asked Lifa with widened eyes hearing Menma's challenge. He didn't change at all. To challenge all the salamanders at once, muttered Kirito. "Aren't you worried about him, Sakuya?" asked Lifa turning to Sakuya in panic. Sakuya looked calmly at where Menma was and said, "There is nothing to worry about. My darling has never even gone all out. Maybe this will be a chance to see all his power." Then Kirito and the others turned back to the battle. Menma versus Eugene. When the sun shined brightly at Menma's side, Eugene decided to charge that moment at him to strike. Menma seeing that strike raised his Kusanagi to block but was surprised as Eugene's sword passed through his Kusanagi. "What? Umbre septemplex paris anticorporalis," said Naruto surprised and cast a shadow shield to protect himself. Eugene looked displeased as his strike was blocked. Menma flew back a little and said, "So that's the power of demonic sword gram, ethereal shift. But now that I know about that skill you won't surprise me again." With that he charges at Eugene. Eugene intercept him and begin to slash at Menma. Menma just concentrate on attacking and let his shadow armor take care of defense. But even with the shadow armor he still receives some slashes. They've been fighting for a while now. Menma received multiple slash on his body but so is Eugene. Suddenly Eugene decided to slash Menma in half. The strike was so sudden that Menma only managed to avoid enough to not be cut in half. He flew back to create a distance between them. Then the sound of something was cut was heard. Menma's mask has been split in half. His bang is shadowing his eyes so the people below couldn't actually see his face completely. Then Menma looked up calmly at Eugene to reveal his face to the world for the first time. He has shoulder-length spiky black hair. His eyes are blue with slits in them. The wind is blowing his hair dramatically. On the ground. When Lifa and Sakuya saw that Menma was nearly cut in half they were so worried about. But then the mask has been split in half and exposed his face for the first time. Oh my, I know he is handsome, but this is just mind-blowing, said Sakuya and looked at Menma's figure lustfully. Lifa was speechless, she just looked at Menma's now exposed face with red face and the steam is coming from her head. I wouldn't mind to have him for the rest of my life, said Alicia Rue looking lustfully and drooling at Menma's face. I finally see him after 2 months. He didn't change that much in appearance. Only his eyes have changed a little, said Kirito looking at Menma. Menma versus Eugene. Menma feeling his mask has been destroyed and muttered. And now the mystery has been exposed. Eugene flew in front of him and said arrogantly. Now, you see that you don't have a chance at winning. But I still won't spare you though. You need to be punished for your arrogance. I must say you are not bad at wielding that blade. But I was never serious in the first place. Now let me show you how I look when I am serious, said Menma and changed his stance to Batojutsu. His eyes began to turn cold and the killing intent began to leak out. Eugene stood in guard prepared to block the attack. Menma charges forward and disappeared only to appear behind Eugene. Hiten Mitsurugi Ru Yusozen. With that multiple slash was strike down at Eugene's back. Eugene grunt and turned back but Menma disappeared once again and appeared above him. Hiten Mitsurugi Ru Ryutsuzen. Eugene managed to flew back a little but still lose his left hand. He grit his teeth in frustration and began to spin around to slash at Menma. Menma flew down and then rushed up abs perform Umaizen to stun Eugene. Eugene was stunned and his eyes widen in horror. Hiten Mitsurugi Ru Soryusen. With that Eugene was cut in half. His face still showed how shocked he was. Then Menma turned to the remaining 99 players and there was a silhouette of a demon with glowing blue eyes behind him. They all looked terrified and shaking badly. On the ground Sakuya and Alicia Rue looking at the battle with heart in their eyes. Sakuya knew that Menma was powerful when serious, but to completely dominate Eugene, the General of Flame, is mind-blowing. Lifa looked at Menma in awe. His sword style was so unpredictable and fast that she was staring at the battle the whole time. I am feeling nostalgia. No matter how many times I looked at him going all out it still terrified me. Even though he didn't use Hiten Mitsurugi Ru for a while now. His skill is still remain the same. No, they have grown even more from then, said Kirito looking at the back of Menma. Lifa finally snapped back to reality and looked at Menma in awe as he sheathed his sword back. So this is what Menma-kun looks like when he is serious. He is so, said Lifa smiling widely and her heart began to beat faster. Time skip. Sakuya is using the recovering magic to help Eugene's torch to turn back to normal quicker. When she finished the process, Eugene was seen kneeling in the ground. Around them was everyone, from Cat Sith party to Salamander's invasion squad. Eugene stood up and fell on his knees in front Menma surprising him and everyone else. So you've been trapped here the whole time Batasai-sama. That sword style only you could use that sword style. I am never gonna forget how you single-handedly defeat the demon general on the 60th floor. If I lost to you then there is nothing to be ashamed about. That was a good fight. I thank you for the honor to fight you. Some of the salamanders that were the survivors of Sao hearing that, began to fall to their knees and bowed down to Menma as well. Menma just looked uncomfortable at the situation sweet-dropping nervously. Ma, I don't know what are you guys talking about. But if you guys retreat right now I'd appreciate it, said Menma and looked at all the kneeling players uncomfortably. Eugene stood up and said. Due for my respect for you I will retreat this time Batasai-sama. Though fighting you cause my blood to boil I'd like to fight you again sometime. If that's alright with you. Yeah, any time. I will never back out from a good fight, said Menma and clutched his knuckles smirking. That's good. Now I am leaving. Until we meet again Batasai-sama. With that said Eugene and the rest of the salamanders began to fly away. Menma sighed out in relief. Suddenly, he received a smack from behind. He rubbed his head and turned back to see who did that. He was met with a rage face of Lifa. You so stupid, reckless, moron, suicidal, ignorant idiot. What the heck see you thinking challenging the whole army of salamanders like that? Ouch. Geez. Everything is okay now, Leafa. You don't need to work up like that anymore, said Menma, rubbing his head. Suddenly, he was pushed to the ground by none other than Sakuya. She is stranding his waist. My hero. My darling. You were so amazing back then. I know for sure that you will chase those salamanders away, said Sakuya, and smothering him in her bust. Leafa looked away in annoyance. When Menma managed to free himself from her bust, he gasped. You were smothering me. Sakuya-sama. She looked up and covers her mouth. Sorry for that, darling. But I need to speak with that asshole Sigurd first, said Sakuya, and stood up. She turned to Alicia and asked. Rue, you have raised your dark magic skill, right? Yeah, though not on the same level of your lover here, said Alicia, and smirking teasingly. He is not my lover, yet. And stop joking and open the moonlight mirror to Sigurd, said Sakuya. Sigurd's place. Sigurd is sipping his wine and humming silently. Suddenly, a mirror appeared and Sakuya is in it. Hello, Sigurd. Sakuya, said Sigurd in shock. Yeah, unfortunately for you I am still alive, said Sakuya, smirking at him. Why? I mean, how was the meeting? It went well. Also there's an uninvited guest there, said Sakuya. Who? Asked Sigurd nervously. General Eugene sent his regard, said Sakuya, and smiling deviously. Sigurd looked at shock and then turned to Sakuya's right to see Leafa and unmasked Menma standing there. So it's you, Leafa. So what will you do to me now? Fire me. You know perfectly well that the army won't last long without me commanding them, said Sigurd, and closing his eyes confidently. Oh no, I have a better idea. As you can't stand to be a sylph, why don't you go around the world to try to be with other races? Asked Sakuya, mocking him. Then she pressed on the menu and banished Sigurd from sylph's territory. Why you are banishing me? Said Sigurd in shock. That's right, from now on you are a renegade. Maybe you could found something interesting to do for yourself on this journey, said Sakuya, and dropped the mirror. Curse you, yelled Sigurd, and jumping at the mirror, but was too late. Butterfly Valley. Sakuya, after finishing the talk with Sigurd, turned to Leafa and said. I thank you, Leafa, for coming here to save me. No, that's not me. It's all Menma-kun. When he heard that you was in danger he flew to this place like a rocket, said Leafa, shaking her head. Hearing that, Sakuya turning to Menma slowly and smirks deviously. Ho ho, if that's so, I think you've earned the best reward, my darling. And now that yours mask is gone I can do something that I've wanted for a while now. With that said she came near Menma, grabbed his face and kissed him passionately. Menma feels her lips on his and gasps, but Sakuya used that moment to slip her tongue in. She kissed him for a while, then decided that it was enough and back up to lock her lips. That was fantastic, my darling. Your lips are so sweet, said Sakuya, licking her lips lustfully. When Sakuya back out, Menma received a vision of him with blonde hair kissing a pink short-haired girl at the bottom of what's looked like a cave. Alicia, seeing that Menma was stunned, turned to Sakuya and said, You've broke him, Sakuya. Leafa looked away with red face when Sakuya kissed Menma. Yeah, Rika will definitely kill him when he wake up. Naruto, you are at my mercy now. Your whole fate is in my hand. Wahaha, said Kirito, and laughing evilly. Yui, seeing that, just smack his head and looked disapproving. Leafa decides to act and go Sakuya and drag the still stunned Menma away. Menma-kun need to deliver Kirito to the world tree. It was nice to meet again, Sakuya. But we must hurry now, said Leafa, dragging Menma on the scruff of his cloak. Sakuya looked at Leafa, surprised why she decided to drag Menma away right now. Then something clicked in her mind. Or maybe just want Menma-kun all to yourself, Leafa? Asked Sakuya and looked at Leafa deviously. What the heck are you talking about? Who the heck need this reckless idiot? He is just a pain all the time, stuttered Leafa with a red face and waving her hands in denial. I am sorry, but Menma has promised me that he will take me to the world tree. I need to meet one person on the top of there. No matter what, I need to find her, said Kirito seriously. Well, then thanks again for the help, said Sakuya, and bowed her head down in gratitude. Menma opened his inventory and gives Alicia the bag full of cash and rare items. I think this will help to strengthening the alliance even more. Alicia looked in the bag in shock at all the cash and rare items. How do you have that many? Don't worry, that was just half of my cash. Just use it to strengthening the Slaughter alliance. Well, Thank you for that, Hiro-kun, said Alicia and leaned in to kiss Menma's cheek. Lifa, looking annoyed, a tick has appeared in her forehead. Bye, darling. I hope you will return to me when you finished off your business, said Sakuya, waving and winks at him. With that, the sylphs and cat Sith flew away, leaving the three of them there. Menma came to Lifa check if she was okay, because she was tapping her foot in irritation for a while now. Are you okay, Lifa? Don't go near me, you playboy, shouted Lifa, irritated, and flew away. You are so troublesome, Menma, said Kirito with a sigh and began to hover up. It's not my fault that the ladies are attracting to me, said Menma, and followed them. Then he recalled the girl in his vision. Who is she? And what is her connection to me? Though based on the kiss we were pretty close, thought Menma deeply. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.